Welcome to the Not Move Fantasy Football Podcast. Obviously, it's me, atrain, and Otis breaking down all of fantasy football. Obviously, Otis, we are going into week 5, and we have finally reached that tragic time in fantasy football. The thing that I like to call by Mageddon.
Oh, baby. And if you got guys who are on buys, it's not the end of the world, right? But it also depends on where you are in your league right now. If you're sitting at 0 and 4 and 1 and 3, and you got 3 to 4 guys on your roster that have bye weeks, it's going to be rough for you to get that first win or that second win to get a momentum going.
So, obviously, this week we have Green Bay, Atlanta, Chicago, and Pittsburgh all on a bye, which it's crazy when 4 teams go on a bye because not only are you hitting the waiver wire, but if you have injuries, and that's the first thing I kind of want to break down, is the either they're suspended on IR or doubtful. Now, this list is crazy, and I was just looking at this earlier today. Ricky
Yep.
Purcell, Brock Purdy, Lamar
Out.
Jackson, Juwan
Out.
Jennings, Mike Evans, Scary Terry, Aaron Jones, CeeDee Lamb, Malik Neighbors, J.J. McCarthy, Tyreek Hill, Trey Benson, Bucky Irvin, George Kittle, Joe Burrow, Joe Mixon, and Rashid Rice. All of those guys are probably not going to be available this week, which really narrows down the field.
Absolutely. And I think that when we look at teams like the 49ers, that's an entire offense except for Christian McCaffrey. And it's going to be rough to get points out of those offenses. But if you have that one guy like Christian McCaffrey, you can't not play him, right?
Yep.
Because he's ultimately the guy who's going to carry your team. He was your first round pick if you got Christian McCaffrey.
All right.
And so it's going to be rough to come out of the week with a victory. With teams failing to put better products on the field.
Now, one thing I wanted to hit on before we break down, I obviously wanted to do waiver wire ads and then my sit and starts of the week and see
Yep.
kind of pick your brain on what you thought of that. But one
Yeah.
thing I
Yeah.
found very interesting leading into this week, obviously going into week 5, I was looking at the wide receivers, especially in PPR. Wide receivers are a big deal, right? So I was looking at top receiving yards and touchdowns. All right. So the top 7 wide receivers right now is Puka with 503 yards and a touchdown. We have JSN with 402 yards and a touchdown. We have Quentin Johnson with 337 yards and 4 touchdowns. We have Ricky Purcell with 327 yards, no touchdowns. Jetta's sitting at 326 and a touchdown. And we have Garrett Wilson sitting at 311 with 3 touchdowns. And the big one that kind of stands out to me is Amon-Ra St. Brown with 307 yards and 6 touchdowns. These are your top scoring wide receivers in yardage and not so much touchdowns, but that's what they have touchdowns wise.
Yeah. And when you look at these guys, these 7 guys that you put into this list here, majority of them are getting the targets as well. So you're not, PPR, you're adding up their catches as well. So
Right.
it's not just going to be their yardage, but even if they had 300 yards thus far, they've gotten a lot of targets to be able to have a lot of catches. So the touchdowns can sometimes be nullified if they're a high volume guy.
Right. Now, I wanted to hit on some waiver wire ads, and I've been it's right now, I've been really shuffling, especially in one league. I lost Malik Neighbors. I have Scary Terry with a calf issue, and I lost James Conner. So this is all in one league. This is my work league, and I lost James Conner as well. So I'm really hurting in that league. I'm sitting at 2-2, luckily, but I really am going to have to hit that waiver wire, and I'm really going to have to find some gems, some true gems. So I kind of wanted to hit on some of the true gems that I'm speaking of. Um,
Okay.
some of the guys that I like off the waiver wire this week, I like Woody Marks, the running back. He's available in 92% of leagues. Rashad White, the running back, he's owned in 61% of leagues. Jackson Dart, the quarterback, he's available in 82% of leagues. We have wide receiver Darius Slayton, who is at 99.1% available, and we have Darren Waller sitting at 94% available. So these are 4 guys that I particularly like when it comes to hitting the waiver wire today and tomorrow.
Yeah. I obviously will go through the whole um, waiver wire picks for me. But the Jackson Dart thing is going to be tough depending on what kind of league you're in. If you're in a fantasy, or I mean, if you're in a dynasty or
Right.
a keeper league, he's
Right.
probably taken.
Right.
Um, the other guys though, I think are pretty much, you're going to get depending on how your league runs it. If you're a first come first serve type of league, or you have free agent bucks, whatever the
Right.
case may be, that's just going to depend on your strategy on how you want to be able to attack these guys.
Right.
Jackson
Exactly.
Dart, obviously a great future pickup, but I think that all those other guys, you could use them in the immediate future, and you might get some weeks out of them.
All right, Otis. I kind of wanted to just kind of go with my sit and starts of the week. Actually, I'm just going to do my sit or my starts. Some of the people that I really like this week, and then you can kind of piggyback off of it and tell me what you think personally.
Yep, yep.
So first guy I have that I really like is Justin Fields versus the Cowboys. I feel like the Cowboys have a very suspect defense, and even though Justin Fields isn't looking that great, this is definitely an option for this week because of that Cowboys defense.
Yeah, and to go along with that, if you look at my headline, pick up Mason Taylor. He is one of the guys that I would target this week, especially at tight end. This guy is a young guy. He's going to be very, very good. The Dallas defense is not anything special. On that Jets thought as well, Isaiah Davis, only owned in 3% of the leagues in ESPN leagues, playing against that Dallas defense as well, is another guy you could look to pick up.
All right, sorry, I was dealing with something. All right,
No worries.
so next guy I have up is Justin Herbert, and he is going up against the Commanders. I like what I've seen from Justin Herbert, and I think he's a solid start probably from here for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I have him in my fantasy league, in my keeper leagues. And Justin Herbert's a guy who I feel like is going to get better as the time of this season goes on. The receivers, obviously, we talked about Quentin Johnston, but the idea is that his schedule is going to get easier, except for those NFC West matchups. So we could see a big improvement here this year with Justin Herbert.
The other guy I like this week is Danny Dimes versus the Raiders. I think that's a good start this week. I like what I've seen from Danny Dimes, and that Raiders defense is not very good.
Yeah, and as we will always give credit to our buddy Southgate, who's told us that Danny Dimes is going to get a really high productive season going this year. And at the end of the day, that Raiders defense, as you said, isn't very impressive at all. I feel like with the interdivision matchup, it might matter a little more, but in the end, you know, I think that Danny Dimes out of the division makes it an easy win. You're on mute. You're on mute.
Yeah, that'd be helpful if I was off mute, huh? So next guy I have is Jared Goff. I like Jared Goff this week. He's going up against that suspect Bengals defense. Obviously, we just saw what the Broncos did. So I really like Jared Goff this week. He is actually going to be my start of the week this week for quarterbacks.
Yeah, absolutely. If you have been lucky enough to get Jared Goff, you probably got him in the later rounds as a backup. But he's proven to be a starter over the last 2 years, and I feel like the Bengals defense and the Bengals offense is going to be one of the biggest issues for them to be successful at all. So for a guy who's playing against that team, that those quarterbacks are going to have a healthy game. I mean, I don't see a whole lot of problems with that team overall. I mean, and that's why I have this guy up here. I have Trey Hendrickson, because
Right.
they should just get rid of him to the 49ers. The 49ers need a defensive end, so why not trade him? But that's for another podcast.
All right. One of the comments we had is, what's the biggest fantasy surprise of the season? this year so far. Mine particularly is going to be Quentin Johnston. We had hit on him earlier. No one expected this guy to be leading the league in yards and being a top fantasy option because more than likely you got this guy in on the waiver wire after week one.
Yeah, and the thing that's kind of surprising for me is the amount of injuries in 4 weeks. And guys are scrambling. People are scrambling now, just in the last 2 weeks, and it's difficult to navigate when you start to get into the bye weeks, as we said, on top of your injuries. So I'd say injuries are probably my biggest surprise.
All right, my last guy for quarterbacks this week is going to be Kyler Murray versus the Titans, and I'm basing this solely on matchups.
Yeah,
I'm not moved by that Titans defense, and they might not win a game. They might be the worst team in the league. I think the Jets might be one of the worst teams in the league as well. But I like the
yeah,
matchup this week for Kyler Murray versus the Titans.
yeah. The Titans is kind of similar to the Bengals now. The defense isn't very good. The offense isn't very good either. So the idea that the offense that you're talking about, the quarterback here, is going to have the ball a lot more. And it's simple. It's going to be time of possession, multiple possessions more than normal, and that gives you a heads up. I mean, a leg up when you have those type of matchups. Some guys that are quarterbacks that I think you could also look to. Obviously, Mac Jones is going to start this week. He's only owned in 2% of leagues. I know that LA Rams defense is tough, but he's proven to be a solid starter. Sam Darnold against Tampa Bay's defense. He's only owned in 12% of ESPN leagues. Spencer Rattler is a guy who's playing the Giants defense. I feel like he could put up some points. And then finally, if you want to take a shot in the dark, the guy who's starting this week for the first time, Dylan Gabriel, only
Yep.
owned in 2% of leagues, and he's up against that Minnesota defense. And like I said before, if you have a terrible offense, your defense is going to be in trouble.
Right. So let's move on to running backs. Some of the
Yep.
running backs I like this week. I like Amarion Hampton this week against the Commanders. I just think that obviously, now that Najee's gone and just seeing what I've seen from that Washington defense, that's one player I really like.
Yes. I mean, if you have had Marion Hampton on the bench or in your lineup, it hasn't been particularly um, positive yet. Like, he's had some good games, but I really feel like it's going to start to move forward. As I said, as Justin Herbert gets better, Marion Hampton, that means Marion Hampton is getting better as well.
Yeah, another guy I like is Kyron Williams versus your Niners. You're going to be
Yeah.
hearing this a lot today.
Yep.
I like the matchups for all the Rams. Honestly, Kyron Williams versus San Francisco is my must start, one of must starts of the week.
Yeah. I mean, we have D Winners and we have Fred Warner. Bryce Huff has stepped in for Nick Bosa. The idea that the defense is going to be up against it is very going to be very clear. As I said before, if you're playing one of those offenses that are struggling, which I figure the 49ers offense to probably be struggling this week, unfortunately, against the division
Right.
opponent, I feel like that's probably a good start.
Another guy I like, which I really haven't mentioned this year, and I was pretty high on. I didn't know we talked about it in our first episode when we were doing our drafts. Alvin Kamara, I think, is a start this week against the Giants defense. I just think he's going to get the opportunities. I like Alvin Kamara this week.
Yeah, I like the matchup in general. New Orleans versus the Giants defense. As I said before, we're talking about Spencer Rattler. I'll give you another name on that same team in the backfield, and that's Keandre Miller. He's only owned in 16% of leagues, probably as a handcuff, but he has gotten some good touches last week. So he may be a guy you want to pick up.
Yep. And obviously, so I own both of these guys, these next two running backs. I own them in my big money league. And I am so happy on what I've got out of them in the last 4 weeks. One's leading in rushing yards, the other one's leading in touchdowns. I like James Cook this week versus the New England Patriots, and I like Jonathan Taylor versus the Las Vegas Raiders.
Yeah, Jonathan Taylor is going to continue to be on a rampage, I feel like, this year. I feel like the offense is really clicking. That uh, is evident with the production of Daniel Jones. As we've said before, Daniel Jones' best year was when Saquon Barkley was healthy and had a complete domination in the run game.
Yep. So that's gonna kind of fill up my running backs. Did you have any
Yep.
running backs you wanted to hit on?
Yeah, so some other guys that we saw get some more playing time last week. Obviously, Michael Carter after the James Conner injury. He's only owned in 70% of ESPN leagues versus that Tennessee defense. Again, if you're playing a team that doesn't have a solid defense and then they have a struggling offense, it's just going to happen. You're going to get opportunities. And the other guy is Xavier Scott. Um, last week we were watching the game and going, "Who is this guy? He
Right.
keeps getting touches, but if he's going to continue to get touches on the trend that he did this past week, I know he has a tough matchup against Cleveland. He's only owned in 2% of leagues. If you're looking for somebody to put on your squad,
All righty, let's go into the wide receivers. First guy I'm going to hit on, and again, I'm playing the matchups. Quentin Johnston. He's been a miracle for a lot of my teams. I own him in 3 leagues, and at first I'm like, oh, am I going to play him every week? I benched him after week. I picked him up in week 1, benched him week 2, and he hasn't come out of my lineup since. So I really like the matchup against obviously that Washington defense. Actually, I'm going to go with both Chargers wide receivers. I'm going to go with Quentin Johnston, and I'm going to go with Keenan Allen. Lad McConkey's been a little quiet over the last couple of weeks, and I think that
yeah,
trend continues. I like Quentin Johnston and Keenan Allen, and I honestly think if you want to throw one in as a wide receiver and one as a flex, I think they're both going to get you points.
yeah. I mean, I do have Lad McConkey on one of my teams, and unfortunately, is underwhelming at this point. And maybe because of the addition of Keenan Allen late in the preseason, has kind of taken away some of his targets. But yeah, I don't feel like either one of those is a bad play. I'm still going to put Lad McConkey in the lineup just for the sheer fact that he's had production before. So
You
you
have
know,
to. You have
yeah,
to. He's one of your studs. This is why you drafted him high.
right.
The other guy I like is Marvin Harrison Jr. versus Tennessee. I like what I saw out of him, obviously, last week, and I think the trend continues. I think this is why he was drafted high as well. I like Marvin Harrison Jr. versus Tennessee this week.
Yeah, Marvin Harrison Jr. is pretty impressive the last few weeks for me, not just in fantasy, but also just in general NFL play. The catches he's making, the routes he's running is becoming evident that he is the guy that they drafted in the first round last year.
Another guy I like is Jackson Smith and Jigba. JSN versus Tampa Bay this week. I think JSN is a must start this week.
Yeah, absolutely. A guy who Sam Darnold is targeting, almost double the amount of everybody else.
And I know I feels like I'm beating up on your San Francisco 49ers, but I'm starting a lot of Rams this week. My other two must starts at wide receiver are going to be Puka Nakua and Devontae Adams. I think you can start both of them comfortably. Normally, I don't like to start two guys from the same team, but both have been eating, and both I like the matchup on.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the 40 first of all, I will say this: the 49ers defense, for as many injuries as they've had, and the young guys that they have put in, I don't feel like it's a kind of less than half 50% of the league as far as the defense is playing. But again, if the offense can't matriculate the ball down the field, your defense is going to be on the field way longer.
Yep. So that wraps up my wide receivers. Anybody else you want to hit on before I move to tight ends?
Yeah, so obviously with Tyreek Hill injury, Malik Washington is a guy you could certainly target as far as free agents go. Owned in 14% of your leagues. I'm assuming that most of you should have Jalen Waddle on a roster somewhere. If you don't, then I want to be in that league tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly.
As you said, Darius Slayton against New Orleans. Kendrick Bourne will probably be the main target for Mac Jones tomorrow. And then on your team, Marvin Mims versus that Philadelphia defense. I really think he's impressive. He's got a lot of juice. That last game, he showed me a lot, not just in the return ability, but also his route running as well.
Yeah, I've been waiting for one of those three wide receivers to break out, whether it was Pant Bryant, Marvin Mims, or Troy Franklin. And it looks like Mims might solidify himself as that number two because he played really good on Monday night. So I totally see why you hit on him.
Yeah, and Troy Franklin also is a guy you could target because Nix has been targeting him, just not connecting yet.
Yep.
Before we move on to tight ends, um, this guy said we're in a money league. They lost Malik Neighbors due to injury, and so they're in a return league as well. They're starting Sam Darnold, Devon Atrain, Keandre Miller. Wide receivers are Nico Collins and Garrett Wilson, which means he went heavy there. And then his tight end is McBride. Tight end, and then his flex is Malik Washington, which I just mentioned. On the bench is Sutton, Nix, Swift, and Shakir. I am definitely putting Sutton in the lineup over Malik Washington.
Yeah, I'm very curious what his record is. If you're still on, I just drop what you are currently because I like that squad and I like the bench too.
Yeah, I think War Eagle 2178. I feel like this is a guy who could definitely. He's 3-1.
So that makes
Okay.
sense. That team's
Yeah,
good.
yeah, your team is pretty solid. Obviously, with Keandre Miller, it's a little tough, but other than that, I feel like the rest of your team is solid, really, really solid. I might look to move one of your. Oh, it's the same one. I was going to say I would look to move one of your guys maybe to get another running back.
Yep, this is trade time, especially if you
Yeah,
need to make a move right now. I usually don't like trading until week five unless it's an offer I can't pass up. Um, Obviously, with the Malik Neighbors injury, you probably drafted him at the end of the first or the early second round. And I have Malik in two leagues, and I'm reeling. I'm a little worried about it because I spent a high draft pick on him, and this is when I'm really going to have to hit that waiver wire and hope some of these diamonds in the rough pan out.
yeah. I took him in the first round ahead of Josh Jacobs in a PPR league, but that was because I also had uh, James Cook as my starting running back. I
Yeah.
wish I had taken I wish I had taken Josh Jacobs, but I also backed him up with some solid guys. So I had Nico Collins as well.
And with all these wide receiver injuries, Jamar Chase obviously kind of got shut down by Sertan. Like I had mentioned in previous pods that we've done, I think this is back. We're back to the year of the running back because the ones that were drafted high, Bijan, Jameer, they're all panning out. You know, like especially if you spent it on a high draft pick on a running back. I think the running backs are back.
Yeah,
If you want to go to tight ends, just let me know. Keep an eye on the comments, and we'll answer any
yeah.
questions
So he
anybody
said
has.
he said that he said that guys in his league don't really like to trade. So
Ooh,
I
see, that's
understand
tough.
that does hamper your ability a little bit.
Yeah, in my
Uh,
work league, I'm not even going to try to trade in my work league because, like, literally, everyone said we're just going to veto everything, and you kind of have to almost like sneak the trade through because
yeah,
a lot of leagues they'll turn off the trade. Like in our particular league, the trade, the veto trades got turned off. Like, if it's a fair trade, it should go through. I totally feel that, especially if you're good constantly and you're hated by all of your, league mates and you talk a lot of crap. I could see why people don't want to trade you because I'm in that same exact spot.
yeah. I typically do try to trade. There are guys who send me trades, and it's ridiculous. Like I had a guy today try to get. He wanted to trade uh, Merritt for Merritt from Washington, Krosky Merritt for oh my gosh, who was it? Oh, Chase Brown.
Yeah.
And I'm like, buddy, like Chase Brown, regardless of who the quarterback is getting work. And the guy from Washington isn't very impressive.
Yeah, I'll tell you my horrible trade because sometimes I think it's a joke too. Because you either get like a legit trade you have to think about, or people are just either trolling or they're thinking you're stupid. Because I had a
Right.
guy offer me Blake Corum and Jalen Waddle for Saquon Barkley. I couldn't hit that delete button quick enough, that reject button quick
Yeah.
enough.
Yeah. Reject or decline. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, I guess we can move on to tight ends if you're ready.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
And I'm gonna piggyback off of that guy. My start of the week is McBride against Washington. I like Trey McBride, so good thing he's on your team because he's going off this week, buddy.
Yeah. Another guy who is playing a defense that is possibly going to be on the field a lot. We don't know how the offense is going to move. With Jaden Daniels either coming back or maybe not coming back. We'll have to see. But I don't disagree with that McBride pick at all.
Um, my next guy is a guy that I was high on before the draft even started, and I wish I kind of would have reiterated how huge I was on this guy because he has been, and I like I told you before when we were doing our pre-draft show, Tyler Warren has been a baller, and he goes up against the Raiders this week. I feel like Tyler Warren's going to eat this week.
Yeah, Tyler Warren. When we watched him get drafted in April, I
Yep.
already knew that Colson Elvin had already been picked, but I
Yeah.
couldn't understand what in the world the Bears were thinking if they were looking at tight end. I I think Tyler Warren is going to be one of those mainstays. He may even succeed Dallas Clark as the most recent, awesome tight end there. War Eagle said he wants to know, should we move Sutton to flex or Shakir to flex?
Sutton to flex or Shakir to flex. So Sutton's going against the Eagles, and Shakir is going up against. Who's Shakir going up against? He's going up against. Who's Buffalo play this week?
I want to say
Oh, New England.
New England. Yeah. I was going to say it's a division game.
Oh, man, I trust Sutton more than I do Shakir personally. How about you?
Yeah, and I feel like he possibly is going to get into the probably going to get in the end zone more.
And then the reason I say this is Josh Allen likes to spread that ball out. It happened
Yeah.
last year. It's happening again. Kincaid's going off. Then Coleman's going off. Then Shakir's going off. It's just
Right.
you might as well flip a coin. But I just trust Sutton a little bit more. He has solidified himself as the true number one. Shakir is Buffalo's number one. But just the way that Josh Allen eats, James Cook eats every week. It's just hard
Right.
to trust another player.
Yeah.
I even get
Other than
worried.
those two, I mean, you probably some of you drafted Dalton Kincaid.
Yeah,
Other people might have drafted later on Dawson Knox. Other
yeah,
people drafted Keon Coleman.
yeah.
Like you said, getting the ball spread around is what Josh Allen does.
Yeah, and like I said, I'm standing on that Tyler Warren take. Like he was slept on in the draft. He was
Yeah.
slept on during fantasy draft, and the real draft and the fantasy draft. He is the definition of a sleeper, in my opinion, because you didn't draft him early, and he's paying out for you every week.
Right.
Another guy I like, that's another sleeper who came on, and which was what a waiver wire pickup week one, Juwan Johnson versus the Giants this week. Guy's been a stud. He has been top 10 tight end in the league over the last 4 weeks, and I do not hesitate putting him in. I trust him over a lot of other guys.
Yeah, I mean, obviously in these bye weeks, we're going to lean more towards matchups than we are, real life production. Just the matchups dictate that you should be starting guys on both sides of these teams, right?
Yep.
Guys from the Giants and guys from New Orleans.
Yep.
And I feel like this is not a bad take here.
All right. Ready to go to defenses?
I'm just going to throw a couple
Oh,
names out there
for tight end
for
for
uh,
you.
for waiver wire. Yep,
All right.
Brenton Strange, a guy that I drafted late in my fantasy draft. He's owned in 32% of leagues. He does have a tough matchup with Kansas City this week, but he had a lot of production last week. Another guy, Cade Otton, 9% of the league, has a matchup with Seattle, and we've talked about that matchup multiple times. And as you said before, Darren Waller. And my big pickup of the week, as I said before, guys, if you don't see it right down there in the corner here, right there. Pick up Mason Taylor from the Jets. He's going to do you good.
Dude, he looks so good. He looks so good on Monday night.
Unbelievable, man.
Like
Unbelievable. I mean, he was just
he
open a
was
lot.
like he was a target monster. Like
Yeah,
I don't I need to go back and look at how many targets he got. And when I was watching the game, I'm like, dude, I gotta pick this guy up as my backup tight end.
for sure.
So defenses I like this week. I like the Arizona Cardinals versus the Tennessee Titans. I like that matchup. Titans put 0 points up last week. I feel like just based on matchups alone, I feel like the Cardinals can score big points this week.
Yeah, they are owned surprisingly when I looked at this 52% of the leagues right now. Now, they did shoot up after waiver wire Wednesday by 22%. So they
Right,
were down at 30% prior to yesterday.
right.
But I love the matchup against the rookie quarterback and that struggling offense.
Another defense I like this week is the Seattle Seahawks versus the Tampa Bay Bucks. Seahawks defense is good. I think they're for real. And I mean, on paper, the matchup not might not look great, but I feel like Seattle is a good enough defense that they will be able to slow down the Buccaneers.
Yeah, shout out to Jay Hines, the defensive line coach, a guy from New Jersey. Has been doing great things with that defensive line, putting a lot of pressure on quarterbacks, and to have that young that young secondary behind him or behind them is playing well.
Another team that I like this week is obviously the Buffalo Bills versus the New England Patriots. I like the Bills defense this week.
Yeah, I think that the Buffalo Bills are going to be a run heavy game here. I don't particularly think that they're going to need to pass the ball. I don't feel like Drake May has been overly impressive as much as a lot of people have believed prior to the season starting. Um, so I don't have a problem at all with that Buffalo pick.
And then I think the next two are pretty obvious. They're going to be one of the highest scoring defenses like projected this week, just based on matchups alone. And that's the Detroit Lions defense versus the Cincinnati Bengals. We saw how much they struggled against the Denver Broncos defense. Detroit's not quite what Denver is, but again, Cincinnati's offense doesn't move me.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's important to note that at the end of the day, you're picking matchups and and guys who were or teams who are playing teams who just don't have it. They just don't have it yet. And
Right.
whether it's due to injury or in general, they just haven't congealed, haven't gotten together as a team yet.
All right. Last defense I like this week is I picked them up in one league, and I was surprised that they were sitting there. It might not hurt for you to check your waiver wire if you haven't already put your waiver claim in. Um, Cleveland Browns versus Minnesota Vikings. The Browns defense is for real, and if they're available, swoop them up because I did, and I'm plugging them right in this week.
Yeah, absolutely. They are. They have a really good matchup against Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz did not perform well last week in London against the Pittsburgh Steelers. I feel like that is a solid pickup as well. Two teams that we didn't mention that are on possibly on your waiver wire are the Dallas Cowboys versus that New York Jets offense. We just don't know how well it's going to go either way. And if you can get the Dallas Cowboys, that would be a good thing. And also the New York Giants versus that New Orleans offense. I mean, at the end of the day, we don't know which way these games are going to go. So if you can get a pick six or a scoop and score, I mean,
Yep.
heck, how many block kicks have we seen? Right, we had 10 block kicks in week 3. Right, we had 4 more this past weekend. So if that's not an indicator. The emphasis on special teams, not just defenses, you could get some extra points out of that.
Yeah, let's give those special teams a shout out. I keep on just saying defense, man. It's special teams too because there's been block kicks. Look how many block kicks, like you said. It gives me PTSD. Maybe that's why I don't do it, just because my Denver Broncos have lost twice for a leverage
Hey, listen,
call.
man,
And
my team let up a punt return for a touchdown, so
yep,
I understand your pain.
shout out to the special teams, long snappers, all of them. Let's give them a little bit of love.
You're not lying. Speaking of special teams, moving on to my specialty, kickers.
Oh,
Love the
go ahead.
kickers.
I'm not. You
Yeah,
told. I already told you
I
I
know.
don't like kickers.
I know you don't like
This
to
is
talk
all
about them.
you.
All
You have at
right.
it.
So the kickers this week, I like three of them. All right, maybe a three pack. You pick one. All right, Nick Folk versus that Dallas defense. For the Jets. He's a guy. They're playing indoors essentially, so you're going to get benefit of that. Your team's playing the Philadelphia Eagles. I think the Philadelphia Eagles offense is struggling. Your team has a good defense. They're going to be kicking a lot of field goals, so I'm going to go with Jake Elliott.
There you
And the
go.
last guy, a NFC West foe, Chad Ryland versus is kicking for Arizona, and I feel like that offense might be struggling to get into the red zone, with the exception of course, Trey McBride.
Yeah. So yeah, Washington. Like I said, anybody that is playing against Washington, everyone that's playing against San Francisco, everyone that's playing against Cincinnati, like I'm
Yeah,
firing all these guys up. The Raiders,
Tennessee.
yeah, the Tennessee Titans, the
Yeah.
or the Las Vegas Raiders.
Did you say the 49ers?
Yeah, sorry.
You should not say the 49ers. That hurts my
I mean, I'm firing up everyone against the Niners tomorrow night.
feelings.
Sorry, Otis.
Yeah, if you're going to go straight Rams, you probably win. If you
Yeah.
went straight Rams lineup, you're probably going to win.
I mean,
You
you're
know,
missing Ricky, you're missing Juwan, you're missing Brock. I mean,
the
Chris
whole offense.
McCaffrey's
I
pretty
told you,
good.
the whole offense except for McCaffrey is out. It's like a
Between you and the
preseason game.
Ravens, dude, between you and the Ravens, that's another
Oh yeah,
that's a
Cooper
whole ball of
Rush,
wax.
man. Yeah, I mean, you don't know where you're going to go with that.
Man, the Ravens, who would have thought that we would
And who
be
do they got? Who they got this week?
the Ravens take on
Houston, right?
Houston, yeah, a good
Yeah. So
defense.
that defense is tough. That defense is tough.
Yeah, you might even
Uh,
want to fire them up. I didn't even think about them. If you have Houston's D, it might not be a bad idea to fire them up. Which before we came into the season, you would not be thinking that the Ravens would be this bad, and that defense especially. I thought that
yeah.
defense was going to be top five, and dude, people are going up and down the field on them.
I mean, bananas. I mean, when we saw the first game, right? That
Yeah,
Buffalo game,
yeah,
we're thinking, holy smokes, 43 points? Are you kidding me? You know, I mean, there's no way you're going to be able to win with a run game that they use,
yeah,
and giving up that many points. I mean, they're usually in the 25 to 30 range as far as scoring goes.
yeah,
And then on top of that, they're giving up 29.
yeah.
So that's also a big surprise this season.
The last ranked defense. Who would have thought? I drafted him in one league, and I'm gonna give him one more week, and then I'm dropping him. I should have already dropped him, honestly. All right, that's all I got. Anything else you want to hit on before we end this, Otis?
No, no, I think that we've covered a plethora of issues. Talking about teams who have struggling offenses, struggling defenses, and the bye weeks, and injuries. So if you're lucky enough to avoid any of those injury bugs, congratulations to you. I pray that you don't hit an injury landmine in the future.
So I was gonna let it slide because you didn't say anything. We obviously are in two leagues together. You didn't even rub it in my face that you beat me in the other league. So we are 1-1 against each other in the two
One and
leagues
one,
together. Yeah,
one and
I'm
one. Hey,
surprised you.
listen.
I'm
At the end
surprised
of
you
the
didn't say
day,
nothing. I should have just let it go.
at the end of the day, I let my team do the talking. I don't talk at all.
All right, Glock Purdy got one against me, so
Block Purdy, baby.
we'll keep everyone posted how that goes. So I beat you in one league first, and then you beat me in the other league.
Yeah, we'll
On a
have
different.
we'll have two more matchups before the season's over. So
So we'll see who knows fantasy more, right?
who knows fantasy ball?
Right.
All right. So thanks for tuning in to Not Move Fantasy Podcast. We hope you enjoyed it. This is the place where stats become stories. Good luck this week.
This non-casual podcast may not be reproduced, retransmitted, or reused without the authorized written consent of the Not Move Podcast Network. Thank you, and we hope you enjoyed today's broadcast.